as a child, who hasn't dreamed of their favorite doll or a teddy bear coming to life and being very best friend forever and ever? Robert Eugene Otto had a doll who stayed with him his whole life. An artist and his muse in eccentric Key West, Florida. This doll was given to the 6-year-old Robert Eugene by the family's Bahamian maid who was known to practice voodoo. It was the perfect likeness for the young boy and was even named Robert after him. As a young boy, Eugene developed a strange fascination with Robert. He spent long hours alone with his doll, talking to it. And if anything went wrong at home, Eugene always knew who to blame. It was Robert, he would tell his parents. Robert did it. Robert did it.
The doll was given to Jean by a Bahamian girl, and they think that she put some type of voodoo spell on it. And the doll took a bizarre effect on Jean. And everywhere he went, whenever he got in trouble for things as a child, he said, "I didn't do it, Robert did it." And he'd blame the doll. And this went on for his entire life.
Eugene Otto became one of the most celebrated artists in this famous artist colony. His fame grew beyond the Suddenly Keys and did his wealth. He preferred to paint in seclusion, alone, indoors, and with Robert always by his side. Eugene settled down with his wife, Anne, where the artist's house close to DeVault Street in Key West. Robert, of course, went with them. Anne disliked the doll from the moment she first saw it. It gave her chills just by looking at it, and she didn't like her husband's obsession with it. Still, she humored him, and Robert was given a room of his very own, away in the attic. There he stayed until Eugene told his wife that Robert was angry and demanding a room with a view. Despite Anne's objections, he moved Robert out of the attic and down to the turret room. Robert was seated at the window, looking out over the street. Children on their way to school said they saw Robert through the windows, moving about in the room, glowering at them.
Robert is such a unique, one-of-a-kind doll. Originally, he was built in Germany by the Steiff Company and found his way to Key West in 1904. He was given to a little boy who lived here by the name of Robert Eugene Otto, and the two became absolutely the best of friends. He took Robert the doll everywhere. They were absolutely inseparable. He created a room for him in his house. He would talk to him for hours on end. I mean, they were absolutely the best of friends. Eventually, when Robert Eugene Otto passed away, the doll came to the museum, and that's when we started finding out all about the creepy stories that Robert had to offer.
Inside the house, Eugene became increasingly irrational and violent, smashing things and lashing out at his wife and screaming like a madman. And then all of a sudden, he'd be himself again. And he would always say exactly the same thing. It was Robert.
Some people said that he was abusive towards her. And when he was confronted with his abuse, he'd say, "I didn't do it, Robert did it."
Robert's influence seemed to grow stronger and stronger. A plumber working alone in the turret room with Robert fled the house in terror. He later said he heard Robert giggling. Other visitors swore that Robert's expression changed as they looked at him. Sometimes they said that he looked like pure evil. Eugene became sicker and sicker, becoming so despondent that he locked himself away in the turret room until he finally died, with Robert the doll by his side. free at last, Anne left the house, leaving Robert behind in the attic. The new owners discovered him soon after moving in. They took one look at Robert and knew that this, whatever it was something they definitely didn't want in their home. Robert ended up in the East Martello Museum, where he holds an eerie fascination of everyone who sees him. Visitors to the museum, completely ignorant to the story, have been shocked as the expression of his face apparently changed before their very eyes. A psychic investigator said that Robert's soul is slowly dying, his hair turning white as he grows older. Today, the artist's house where Robert once lived is a guest house. He's still here, in the darkest recesses, as the addicts say, the staff, who avoid coming up here. And after her death, Eugene's wife, Anne, appeared here too. Her ghost stalks the turret room. Anne is trapped here now, with Robert the doll. And as for Robert the artist, he tragically discovered that the things we love to possess sometimes end up possessing us.